By profession, I often have to travel to the European part of our vast homeland. Moreover, not by cities, but more and more by villages and by suburbs. I'm a historian, and I collect all kinds of stories in my spare time. Somewhere there is folklore, somewhere there are horror stories that people tell just for the soul. A woman told me this terrible story. When we met, she was already in her 50s, had 2 children, and her grandchildren were growing up. In principle, Elena, let's call her that, was not against the story being published somewhere, but out of respect, I also changed the names of the names appearing in the story, and for the sake of convenience, I will narrate on her behalf. And she told the following. I was born in the city myself. My mother moved here to live with my father, who worked at a factory. And my mother's mother, Grandma Maria, lived in the village all her life. It's not much of a village, 2 dozen houses, about 100 kilometers from the city. I loved my grandmother very much. It's a pity I only rarely saw her. She remained in my memory as the kindest person who would not do anything wrong to her neighbor, either in words or deeds. But in the village itself, they didn't like her for something. No, let someone throw a witch, they say. Well, I was curious about what, and somehow I came to Grandma Maria. I was about 20 years old at the time, and in the evening, sitting at the table, I asked. She tried to laugh it off, but I didn't let her, and she told me how it all started. When I was your age, Grandma Maria said, I fell in love with a guy. Oh, and he was handsome. He lived in a nearby village and played the accordion in the evenings. And he kind of looked at me. They said he was even going to woo me. And once, a miracle of technology was brought to a neighboring village, a gramophone. We hadn't seen anything like it then, so I persuaded my friends. We got dressed and went. And in the club, there are a lot of people. It's too crowded. We came, looked, and listened. It's getting late, it's getting dark, and we're gaping, listening to the music playing. Girls, my girlfriends, are listening, but I'm not, no. But I'm looking around, I'm looking for my own. He wasn't at the club, and I think maybe he went outside to smoke. I came out of the club and saw Yasha standing under a tree and kissing some local girl. Well, I, a fool, burst into tears and ran from there. I don't know how long I ran. I sat down at some house on a bench. I was sitting crying, wiping my tears with my sleeves, and then I heard someone come up and sit next to me. And he asked softly, why are you crying? Are you spoiling such beauty with tears? I looked up and saw a guy sitting there, not one of ours, dressed in some unusual way, all in black, sitting and grinning. I told him everything in good faith, and at the end I added, if it were up to me, I would have lived with him and this estranged girl. And the guy just smiles more. Would you live like this? Well, I nodded and cried harder, and he slapped his knees and said, as if to himself, well, maybe something good will come out. He got up and held out his hand to me. Dance with me, Mariushka. I was so surprised that I didn't even notice that he was addressing me by name. He took my hand, lifted me off the bench, and let's lead me around in a circle. He dances first one way, then the other, and faster, because every circle is getting wider, and the wider the circle, the more smiles. And in the end, he started laughing out loud, so I forgot about the tears, and I danced with him and laughed. Lo and behold, he holds out something to me with his other hand and shouts, take it while I give it. Well, I got it, but I didn't notice what. And he laughed even harder, pushed me away thankfully that I fell on the same bench, stamped my foot, and he was gone. I woke up in the morning and I was sitting on that bench. My hair was disheveled, and there was a wildflower in my hand and a clearing in front of me, and it was really trampled, as if someone had danced here. I threw the flower away, came home, and my mother turned on me. Where the hell have you been? Says, Father, the men are already looking for you. Well, she made some noise and walked away. And 2 days later, bad news came. My Yasha is sick, and with him is another girl from a neighboring village. They don't drink, they don't eat, they dry up day by day. Then I got scared, and I told my mother everything. She groaned, waved, and took me to a local grandmother, Pelotja. She listened to me there, whispered something, and then she said, "Oh, what a mess you've made, girl. It's not in my power to help you. I'll keep Yasha safe, but how to live with it, think for yourself. If you wish harm to someone, that person will be in trouble." She said this, took a loaf of bread, a bowl of milk, and went, as I later found out, to the neighboring village to Yasha. They left him 4 days later, along with that girl. And I've been living like this ever since, trying not to wish evil on anyone. But somehow the village found out about all this and called her a witch. I was desperate to find a husband before your grandfather arrived. He was from the party. He didn't believe in all this devilry. Grandma Maria told me this, but she went to bed. I thought back then, that's what my grandmother had imagined. But this story has a sequel. My grandmother got sick. She was ill for a long time, hard, tossing and turning in bed, screaming something. We brought her to the city, and we took turns on duty, me at night, my younger brother at night, and my mother at night. I was already married then, had a second child, but there were problems at home. A friend told me that my husband, Boria, had started walking away from me. Well, I was mad at him then, but that's not the point. That night, I had to go after my grandmother. I arrived and went to bed in the next room. I woke up at night, and it seemed to me that there was someone in the room with my grandmother. I went in there, and I saw a guy standing by her bed. Handsome, tall, dressed in black himself. He stands there grinning, leaned over to her and said, "Well, Mariushka, did you like my flower? Oh, let me take it back." Then my grandmother stirred, wheezed, and all I could make out was "take it." And the guy suddenly turned to me, and I was running, and my feet were rooted to the floor, and he looked at me, laughed out loud, and said, "Ooh, and Lena is evil in you. Do you want me to dance with you?" And he started coming up to me, taking a step and dancing. Then I broke out in a cold sweat. I remembered what my grandmother told me, so I let say the prayers I know. And as soon as he heard the first words of prayer, he suddenly frowned all over, stopped smiling, glared at me, stamped his foot, and everything was gone. I woke up in the morning. I also think that I had a bad dream. I went to my grandmother, but she had already started to stiffen. She died at night. She looked closer, and she had a dried field flower in her hand. That's the story I was told once. Believe in it or not, you decide for yourself.